Okay, welcome back again. Alright, so we're on to part 3 now of our tutorial videos. Right, so you should see before you a representation of the nice three-dimensional shapes that we've created so far. So we have used basic sketch tools, we have used extrude tools to both add material and to take it away. And then we have started using the chamfering and the fillet tools to create some nice angles on the edges of our project, and to just add some extra bosses onto the side. So remember, they're the male parts that stick out. Okay, right, so the next thing that we need to do, we need to start considering having another part. Now, when you create extra parts in Onshape, to put them together, you have to consider mating them, which again, I'll let you make your own jokes about. But before we do that, we need to learn how to do it properly. So now I'm not going to make another part in this part studio. Now, down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that this is referred to as a part studio. If I go into assembly, that's where I start putting things together. So as it stands, I've got a part studio for this particular piece. Okay, I need to create another one to make another part. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to this bottom left hand corner, and we're just going to click on this plus. This will give us the option to create part studio. Okay, and that's something that we're going to need to do. So that is going to open up a new tab for us. Okay, so Part Studio 1 is what we were working on to start off with. This is now Part Studio 2, so we get a new setup of these planes for us to look at. Okay, and we're going to work in exactly the same way. Okay, so this time we're going to be using the front plane, so I'm going to select that one. So we're going to click on that, click N for normal view, and that's going to bring us in there. And we're going to need to create what we would call a profile. Okay, so this is not a complete image of something, but it is, if we were to look at something flat on, and we're looking at half of what the flat view would look like, and hopefully you'll understand this as we go through. Okay, so we are going to start off, and we're going to do this to the side of this line here. Okay, so we're going to use this as our vertical axes, and we're going to do it to one side of that. Now we're going to use the sketch tools again, and now obviously we don't have a complicated shape in here that we can sort of add. We could use lots of basic shapes, add them together, and clip bits off, and that would look a lot like this. So for instance, if we were going to put a rectangle in there, we were going to put another rectangle in there, we can do that, and then we can use this trim tool to remove the lines we don't need. That would get us something that looks a bit like what we want. Now that's a little bit overly complicated, truth be told, so we're not going to do that. So I'm going to show you the other way to do it. So I'm going to Control Z that away. Okay, and staying in sketch mode, so we're going to pick up the line tool. Okay, and we're going to try and do these as accurately as we can as we go along. Is the best way to do it. So going to click here, doesn't really matter where, but I'm going to use this long line to help me. The first line wants to be roughly 40mm long, so I'm going to draw that, I'm going to dimension that. Okay, and we're going to dimension these as we go along because that's quite important that we do that. Alright, so I'm going to just dimension that one to 40mm. I'm going to draw myself a line on here. Now obviously these connectors are useful because they will automatically grab onto these, so I need to get my line tool back again, and you can see we've got that symbol happening again. So a coincident is basically a join. Okay, so we want a coincident, and we're going to drag that over, and we want to set that to roughly 10. So again, we get the middle bit, make sure that goes orange, and drag that out so that we can set that to 10. Then we're going to put a line at the top. The top one needs to be a little bit, I keep forgetting to select my line tool, so if you make that mistake then it's okay, we're all in it together. We're going to click that, and I'm going to drag it over. That wants to be a little bit longer this time, so we're going to make that 15. So again, dimension that, 15 millimeters. And the last line I'm going to draw in will be 10, so we're going to get Coincident there, click that, dimension that, 10. I know this seems overly faffy, but it's worth it in the long run, so we're going to do that. Now obviously I'm not going to just join those two bits together, so I'm going to just draw a little wedge in there. So I'm going to go across, that's going to be about 5 millimeters. Now you might find it difficult to zoom in on particular parts, so this is where if we take off that dimensioning tool, we should be able to select everything we've done so far. And for those of you that are working on a laptop, certainly, if we zoom to selection, it will zoom into the bit that I'm actually looking at. So I can go back into my sketch and dimension them now. So I can dimension that one. That's going to need to be 5 millimeters. No, it didn't want to let me. That'll be 5 millimeters. We'll try that again. There you go. And then the last thing. So if we put Coincident there, now this will try and snap to certain things, and if it's vertical, it will be most happy. So we'll go to there and then click on that Coincident to finish the sketch. You can see now that it's done a little a grey shade in here. Okay, and that is purely because it's realised that's a full thing, and once you've closed the line, then that will work for you. Okay, so that will get us our particular shape. Okay, so now we need to do the next operation. We're going to need to revolve this, so we're going to need to use a different tool. So I'm just going to have a look at it in its full glory. There's our lovely shape that we've just created, and we know it's the right size because we've just done all that sort of stuff. And we're going to use this tool this time. This is called the Revolve tool. Okay, so we are going to go with the new. Now it's going to ask us to click on the sketch, so that's highlighted now. Then right here, the minute is red because it's a bit confused. It wants to see what the revolve axis should be. Okay, so we are going to use that, and we're just going to select, so if I just click on that, and then we're just going to select the longest line, the vertical line of the sketch, and presto, straight away what that's done is it has spun that all the way around to create a 3D part, which is nice and easy. So we're going to just accept that, so that's a nice looking thing. So if you were making something like a rivet or something like that to go into something, or a little peg to go into a toy or something along those lines, that would work nicely for you. And we're just going to make that look a little bit more professional, and we're just going to use the chamfer tool, and we're going to leave that at 5 millimeters. That is the default setting for it, so that's good. And we are just going to apply that onto the right edge. Now what I need to do is just go slightly underneath here, because I want to apply the chamfer onto this edge here, which will get us a nice looking part looking much like that. Okay, so that is where we should be at this point in time. And the last thing that we're going to do is just accept that one. So now we should have a part studio with our lovely funky looking thing, our part studio with our new slightly less funky looking thing, and then in the next video I'm going to show you how to join those together. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.